Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I want to talk more about Splinterlands. I'm going to go through the comment section. I'm going to look at 3 different comments from 3 different videos. I'm going to do my best to answer and to honor what's being stated by those speakers. And that might mean I agree with you and it might mean I disagree with you. Let's find out together. Without further ado, let's get into it. I guess while I'm pulling up comments, if you're new to my channel, my name is Dwayne Cunningham. I go by Infidel1258, but you can call me 12. Leave comments below on any video, and I do frequently review them. And sometimes if they'll turn into their own video, one comment turning into one video, I'll do my best to honor you. If I see an IGN, I'll send some thank you or put you in a raffle for an opportunity to win a big thank you. So drop your comments below. So I had a 2-minute look at these comments before I started, and I can't even tell you which one really grabbed me, but I saw comments on my big concern video here that got me thinking anyways, and I thought, you know what, yeah, let's do it. Let's do a video. So let's grab one from this video, my biggest concern in Splinterlands today, which is a video talking about, I'm speaking with Tales from the Cryptmancer, first of all. Check out his channel. And I ask him, what is your biggest concern for this game right now in August 2023? And then I speak to my biggest concern. Well, I guess more particularly, I really respond to his critique around how if land doesn't launch the way we want, the way we expect, the way we need, he is pretty convinced they don't have another card to play. They don't have another sort of arrow to string up on the bow. This is our shot. He seems to be skeptical that there would be a next obvious move. And I am inclined to agree with him that there probably is not a next obvious move, like a next big win that's ready to be won and taken and claimed. It makes sense. I think he's probably right. In fact, I said in the video, if land 1.5 doesn't launch well, I suspect the next thing is land 2.0 for intensive purposes. It's not 1.6 will come first, but I mean, truly the land 2.0 will be the big moment where we start to get the big liquidity pool creation within the game. If you don't know what I'm talking about, land 2.0 is going to introduce DEC to in-game resource pools. So like wood, ore, brick, slate, etc. There'll be 50 different resources tied in liquidity pools to dark energy crystals, and that will require a lot of DEC to be locked up into those pools. That's a big deal. I don't want to unpack exactly why, but that's a huge deal. So I argue on the back of his comment, if 1.5 doesn't do it, then probably 2.0 is the next big thing, and that's not going to be very appetizing. That's not going to be very exciting after we just thought land 1.5 is a big deal. If it isn't a big deal, it's going to be very dissatisfying to hear wait till 2.0. So that was the tone of our conversation. Now let's find a good comment here. This was the first comment that I read, actually, from Michael JNZ. And I don't know if it's, let's see. I think the most likely outcome from here is that Splinterlands fails to perform in the next bull run, just like any other altcoin that's had its time. Still potential to make money, just not as much as the newer games coming out. Wow. I disagree. And you might say, yeah, big surprise. You know, you're heavily invested in this game, Splinterlands. You cover this game largely on your channel. You know, of course you say this guy's wrong. Take it with a grain of salt, I guess. But I mean, I don't hold these assets because I think I can pump them through a channel that has a few thousand followers. I hold these assets in this game because I believe in what I'm holding. Splinterlands, I think, is a unique sort of value proposition. The opportunity to have ongoing revenue streams from a non-fungible token-based video game that you actually can earn for your time and attention. I just think that's special. And yes, he's right. There are newer games coming out that are offering that, and some of them are exciting. But you know what is always the case with crypto? There's always a new project. There's always been a new project. There at first, I remember when there's like 1,000 cryptos. Some of you will remember when there was 10 cryptos. Maybe some of you remember when it was literally just Bitcoin. And yet here we are. The community keeps growing. And do you know most of them? No, you don't. Most of them are shite, right? Like, I mean, pardon my language. I don't usually swear on the channel, but guys, it's true, man. And it's such an important point to drive home. So apologies for that if that's but yeah, I mean, like there's a ton of these tokens, maybe not the top 20 or whatever, not even, maybe not even a top 200. But if you start to pull away from the first pages, like I'm on live coin watch, look at the top 24 over the last 24 hours. There's coins in here you've never heard of and you'll never hear about again. But today they're pumping in crazy ways because that's what happens in crypto. It's not that they're good. It's not that they're powerful. It's not that they'll be here in 5 years or even 5 weeks. But right now they're having a moment. And I would argue that that's always the way it is with crypto. So in one sense, I agree with what he's saying. But in another sense, you can't just generalize that, hey, there's going to be a broadening of the economy and therefore there'll be a diminishment of the returns, without going another step further and saying, how does the broadening economy, the new competition, stand up against this, long-standing competitor? Splinterlands is a, for all the criticism, this is a thriving game with thousands of players that have put hundreds or millions of dollars into this thing. Like, there's a ton of games played daily. There's a ton of people playing. There's a ton of content over it. The amount of commitment available from the people that are still here is indicative of something different than what he seems to be alluding to, as if it's really disappeared. I don't know that there was ever a moment where Splinterlands was more positioned for success. And just look at it, you say, what are you talking about, Dwayne? The bull market, that was crazy. And that was a moment where it was more positioned for success. No, it wasn't. That was a craziness where emotions got ahead of themselves. And I mean, even if you look at like 400, 500,000 daily active users, we know now that most of them were bots. It's not as if most of them were players that took this seriously, played it religiously daily, all the day, every day, and they just got sick of it. It's actually more like the profits weren't there for them and they moved away. So it wasn't that they had an interest in the game, but it was that they saw an opportunity for a moment or a season. And so we aren't actually talking, I'm not talking about those players, because those players will come back whenever there's an opportunity. And if there's a crypto market that booms and a bull market that hits Splinterlands, those people will return. Period. I'm talking about, have we seen significant growth in the people who are committed to this thing? And we obviously have. Because, there was times in the past where DApp Radar would show data on the number of unique accounts playing this thing. And we're talking hundreds a day, like 300, 400, 500 different accounts playing. And I had 2. So you know what I mean? Like, we're talking, what was that, 200 players, 150 players playing this game. And that was a different moment where now we're in the thousands. I don't know if it's 5,000 or if it's 10. I recently, looking at Splinter cards with Tales from the Cryptmancer, you can see the rich list from those that own land. And if you scroll all the way down, it's quite a ways down, but you can see that there's 3,737 accounts that have at least one plot of land. There's really no point to separate your land across multiple accounts. So this to me is indicative to some extent of how many live accounts human players are playing this game. Not exactly, because I don't believe every player has a plot of land. But this is definitely indicative of a large body of humans that are playing this now, probably 10x what it was when I first started playing this game, maybe more. I'm thinking probably 5,000 to 7,000 players are actually playing, maybe as many as 10,000. I can't prove that to you, but I point to things like this as an indication, a proxy measurement for that. And so when I come back to the comment, is it the case that, it will fail to perform in the next bull run? I don't know why you would say that, unless you're saying you think there'll be other projects that will grow faster, which seems to be your core, expression or thesis. And I think, okay, if you want to go comparatively, there probably is some, project that just began that no one's heard of, that 5 people are playing, and that could explode in a massive way and grow far greater than a Splinterlands could. But also there's much greater risk with those projects, as I alluded to with all those thousands of coins you've never heard of that are pumping today. And so it's not just about whether or not there could be something that gets a bigger return for you. It's also about managing the security and the safety and the maybe even the historic, the sort of the comfort you might be able to stand upon, the foundation of sort of historic confidence you might be able to stand upon with a name like Splinterlands compared to a brand new game or token that no one's heard of and maybe no one's touched yet. And that doesn't mean this will be the greatest victor from the next bull run. But I think the tone of still there's potential to make money. Yes, I'll agree with that. But the second part, just not as much as with newer games, which is to say there won't be, like, you'd rather risk on something that's totally brand new, that has no foundation, has no historic sort of success and stability. And I'm saying I'd rather take something that's far more stable and secure. And you might in the end just say, no, Splinterlands isn't secure enough. The risk reward potential isn't where I want it. That's the question we're talking about. What's the risk versus the reward? And I'm saying there's a substantial reward within Splinterlands available to those who play and earn while, investing to some extent. And I like that risk profile as it compares directly to the security and the stability and the history of this game and the company. That's the combination, right? It's the risk and the reward. Like, you want that reward opportunity, but hopefully you feel confident that it's not just going to disappear. I wouldn't feel that way about some of these other games. Even some of the other games I already play. I don't know if Splinterlands is going to be there in the next bull market. I don't know if Golemancer is going to be there in the next bull market. I'm playing them. I'm investing in them. I'm, trying to get the most out of them. But I consider it like I'm rolling the dice. And with Splinterlands, I don't. I wonder if you would disagree with that. Do you think Splinterlands is a roll of the dice? Because you got to measure that sort of confidence. And you got to recognize, sure, you're going to have, where you have more confidence in a project, you have less probability for outsized returns. But still, when there's 5,000 or even 10,000 players, if we truly grow 10x from here, we can see really significant gains. That's what I would say to you. Let's go on. So let's grab a comment from another video. Okay. So this is another video recently where I covered with Tails, and we were talking about the most pivotal moment in Splinterlands ever, which is the launch of LAN 1.5. And he is of a firm opinion, as am I, that this is the biggest thing this game has ever done. Like, in terms of change, growth, new expansions, it's gigantic. It's a whole new game. It's a whole new utilization for the card assets that you already own. It's a new way to create sync for DEC and SPS. That's going to help the tokenomics of the game. It should attract new players, new investors, it should really change both the financial growth as well as the entertainment value available within Splinterlands. So this is massive. That's what my and Tails' position is. And then with respect to this comment, I see Daniel is saying, I completely agree with Tails on his take. Realistic expectations. This is what players need, and especially the new ones. We need way more content like that, realistic and in the now. Okay, so I see a funny comment from Cyber Block right below him, which says, if realistic means crying, which is interesting, but I don't want to go too far down that. But let's touch on Daniel's point and just say, a guy like Tales from the Cryptmancer, and we talk about this in this video, is more, and he's not bearish with respect to Splinterlands. He says this explicitly. I'm not a bear. He's invested deeply, but he has a critical eye that some of you will say I don't have. Some of you have in the comments said, I'm just hopium, or I'm too positive. I'm too, like, everything is, I never see the negative, which in my opinion is not true. I believe I see the negative, and I weigh that within my calculations of, again, like I said with the first comment, there's a certain amount of risk and a certain amount of reward opportunity. If the reward opportunity is greater, substantial enough to endure the risk concerns, and there's fundamental considerations that allow me to set aside some of my concern around the risk, then I feel that can be justified and supported, and we can walk in a bullish sentiment even while we're yet unsure. That's and one last point on my premise before I touch on more on what Tails is offering and saying. I would argue that the greatest gains available to anybody in crypto ever, in any investment ever, are those that see value while others deny value existing. I'm going to say that again. The greatest outsized gains come when you can recognize value in a moment, in a company, in a project where others fail to see that same value. Do you see what I mean? That's what I'm arguing my view is over Splinterlands. My point is, with Splinterlands, I see and I articulate both the concerns and the opportunities, and I think I do my own view of my content is that I'm not entirely bullish, but the bullish sentiment and the expectations and the opportunity outweigh the risk in my mind to the extent that I'm heavily invested in this game. And I know some of you don't agree, and I actually think there's a large voice of people that will never agree until this project moons. When it moons, those same voices, the majority of those voices will move to a place of bullishness with respect to this. And I'm arguing that that's the biggest mistake you can make within any investment. And I hope that's what my channel aims at. Now let's go back to the comment with respect more to what Tails is saying. And he appreciates, what Daniel's saying is he appreciates the realistic expectations. Fair enough. So do I. That's why I have Tails on. And he goes, players need this, especially new ones. I think that's probably true. Players do need to understand, let's say, the downside potential, the risk, the concerns, the worries, and some of that might come more clearly when it's not wrapped in sort of the bullish expectations that I might walk in. But I do think you need both sides of the picture. And I do think our game will never grow greater than when we actually are able to communicate and realize true gain. So I think the picture of making this attractive is not going to come from, yes, it has to be truthful, 100%. But I think absolutely we need to communicate the selling points of this project, right? We don't just communicate maybe the negative sides or their concerns. We have to wrap that with our realistic expectations, as you say, around what is positive here. So hopefully I do that, but thank you for appreciating Tails and his presence. I love him too. His channel's great. I watch his content. Go check him out if you guys don't know him. And I definitely appreciate that. And Cyberblock is just being funny, but this is interesting because there really are two voices. Just quickly, there are two voices in our community. There are those who walk in confidence, even in a bear market, and there are those who don't. And in my mind, that doesn't mean that we're right to walk in confidence. But I'm saying that's a delineation between our audience. There are some who are so confident that where this is going, and there are others who just don't share that confidence. And so we definitely need to speak to both those voices. Let's go for one more comment from one more video. Okay, let's go for iHorse here. iHorse is usually good for a little bit of assault, and I can see he's got the caps lock on, so let's go for it. Okay, guys, shout out to iHorse. Thank you, buddy, for dropping the comments. You know that we don't always agree, and I'm not going to take what you have to say without pushing, but I appreciate you saying it, because as I've said on many videos before, if you're new to my channel, I will often review salty comments, and I try to do so with a sort of respect and an honor to the person who's speaking it, because I believe that there are times where I'm going to be mistaken, and I want to find correction for myself in the critiques I'm receiving. So we'll see if iHorse has got something for me that I need to kind of reframe or learn. Let's see. So iHorse is commenting on a video I did recently, which is called "The SPS Will Not Go Up Until Inflation Stops." That video was actually kind of a bigger video. And I think we talked about a number, it was SPS in general, to be honest, but there was one part in that video where I specifically said SPS will not go up until inflation stops. And I asked the question, is that true? And I actually think it's not true for a number of reasons. For instance, SPS is going to be printed for the next 3.5, 4 years, if I recall correctly, 65 months in total, and minus however many months we've already been printing it. And so the argument might be that we're never going to see price appreciation until that stops, because there's going to be an increased supply. But my rebuttal is you can see a decrease in SPS right now. If the flywheel's working, we can start burning SPS for DEC, and I think that'll happen when land launches well. Maybe that's land 2.0, I'm not sure yet. But I think we'll see a destruction of SPS for a creation of DEC, which will mean price appreciation on SPS, even though we're still printing SPS for, you know, part of the for the next few years. And so in that video, let's see what iHorse says. This game is making huge mistakes. Fix the mobile. They knew about this 1 month ago. Told me they fixed it. They didn't. They're passing their mistakes on to the players. Did Splinterlands make a tweet letting players know mobile is broken? It's been happening a lot of players. I told them to tweet it out. If they didn't, they're sketch and sus 100%. It feels like cheating, but it's now stealing. They know full well of the issue. I don't care the waste of time. Literally, nice game here. Really making huge mistakes. Game stinks. I only play mobile. Just wait till you have an issue and they know. So, just battles in which I don't know what the problem is. But he says down here, the mobile is broken. Keeps saying I lose. It keeps saying I lose automatically when I input teams and replay button is gray and there's no replay. I input teams plenty of times and it happens. This is something I heard about on the recent Town Square, I think. So they talked about this. I don't know this. I see Marlon Souza saying same here. It's been happening frequently. Bruce, when playing with Gladius monsters only. So that's what they said in the Town Square, the Town Hall. They said it's been happening when people submit a gladiator when they're not supposed to. So maybe that's happening. I don't know, iHorse. I don't want to, diagnosis for you. All I can say is first of all, the mobile experience isn't where it should be. Second of all, it needs improvement. Third of all, there's a ton of sort of underlying problems that have to get resolved before that can ever be touched, such as how we handle SPS in the game and crypto buying, because you can't do crypto buying on an app. Otherwise, it won't be available through Google or Google Play or Apple. And so that's a big problem that's impairing or limiting the ability for this issue to be fixed. But more than that, we have a massive, like literally the biggest change to our game ever, Land 1.5 launching, and they can't focus anywhere except for there right now. So this is a big deal. What you're saying is, a big deal. I heard them talk about it in a recent town hall. They say it's fixed. Maybe you're saying it's still not fixed. 5 days ago, you dropped these comments. So maybe it's since been resolved. All I can say is, guys, maybe don't use the mobile. Like if you're using your phone, you can totally go to Splinterlands and do the battles through splinterlands.com. So maybe you should do that, because I've never used the app. I use my phone all the time and I never use the app. I used it like maybe 10, 20 battles at the most. I feel it lacks an intuitive sort of functionality. I'm not a fan of it. I would love it to be better, and I know one day it will be. For now, it's not there. This is part of the growth of our game. This is brand new. This is totally revolutionary. And they're focusing on Land 1.5, which is such a massive game-changing event that's where all their eyes are right now. But I think this issue has been fixed. If it's not, let me know in the comments below. I actually want to know more about this. Has this happened to you? I think it's specific to gladiators. That's what they said in the town hall. And if somebody has the town hall or the town square kind of moment when that happens, I'd love to share that in the comments, because I want others to be able to see this. Thank you guys. Have an amazing day. God bless.